All right,
Okay,
shall we
my
get started? No? Should we get started? Oh, wait,
We can get started, yeah? All right, should we start with Zach's thing first then? All right, welcome everyone to the Iowa State Game Development Club. Before we get started, thank you. Before we get started with the really important stuff, I gotta let this schmuck speak for a little bit. This year is the former president, Zachary Cohen, and he's been working on a project for a while. He announced it last semester, and he has some updates on that. It's not going.
Yeah. So just let me know whenever I'm like presenting up on screen.
You have the...
You can share your screen, Zach, if you'd like.
We could see.
I mean,
Jesus.
is my face up on screen?
Yeah?
Yes.
We all see you.
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody. Okay. So, hey, everybody. I hope that we see some fresh faces out in the crowd. I know that the second Club Fest just happened, and I hope you guys are excited for this next year of Game Development Club stuff. Okay, so for those of you guys who don't know, my name is Zachary Kane, and I used to be the president. And I started my own game design studio. We are actually going to be called Low Tier Studios because, you know what, we're just going to be honest about what we are. And so we decided that our first ever project was going to be a game for you guys, everybody at Iowa State GDC. And that game we announced last semester is a dating sim where you get to actually date the executive members, including Cole, the handsome devil standing up at the front, and Jacob, your wonderful president, everybody like that. So it's going to be a really fun community kind of game, and we finally landed on a name for it, and that's what we're here to tell you about. So we finally announced, or I am so excited to announce that the name of the game is officially Love Player, the hunt for Player 2. A deliciously cheesy and awful name for a deliciously cheesy and awful game. But I also wanted to show you guys some of the progress on actually how we've been coming along. So as long as I don't work this and share the wrong screen.
Careful.
Yeah, okay. If you guys can see it up on screen, can you guys see like a character slide?
Yep, all good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is just a hint. It's not. These are just screenshots that I grabbed real quick. But these are some of the screens that you'll be seeing in our game to kind of give you guys, to like show you guys that progress is coming along. Here we see the progress screen on how far you're coming along and wooing your fellow executive members. And here's a screen showing your inventory and all the gifts that you gathered and are ready to give over to your friends. The game is going to be a lot like a gift-giving simulator. You basically collect gifts and then win their hearts by giving them to everybody. Once you do that, and by talking to them, you can take them on dates, and it'll be, and each date is going to have a different mini game, different things like that. So, I hope you guys are excited. And now that I've gotten the good news out of the way, I should probably give you guys the bad news. Give me a moment, I'm gonna swap back myself.
Go back to your face,
Okay.
please.
So, if any of you guys are Legacy members out there, you may remember I am not well known for my timing ability. I am well known for being late, and this game is going to be no exception. Even though I'm taking it as seriously as I ever have, if not even more, I initially settled the estate of this month in January, but I don't think it's going to be out until next month. In fact, it's not going to be. But you guys are going to be able to finally fall in love on Valentine's Day. So, if you guys want to give this game as a gift to your beloved member that also happens to be part, it's a pretty niche audience. I don't really expect a lot of people to get this as a gift. But yeah, so that's all I have for updates. I hope you guys are excited for this game, and awkward outro. Does anybody have any questions about anything, like about me or?
I'll point out hands because he can't see you. If you guys want to know anything about his project.
Question for me.
Yeah. Anything you guys like to know about his project or? who he is, how he got here.
What platforms?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what platforms is it going out on?
Just PC, and it's actually going to be fixed at exactly 1280 by 720 because I don't know how to do dynamic UIs. And so there's going to be a setting screen. Like it's gonna, you run it, and that's what you get.
Perfect. Yeah.
Do they have working music for the game?
What's the music like for your game?
Oh fuck! I need music.
That's your answer.
Yes, I'll stop music.
I mean, we got a nice ocarina track if you want that.
Music was actually done the last on my list. It's something I'm going to implement last if it even gets implemented. But probably something really tropical, kind of like a Maribri feeling. I don't know yet.
All right. Yeah.
Do you have any other projects in mind, particularly after this one?
What other projects do you have in mind, Zach, after this one?
So I'll give you guys another sneak peek. I actually don't know if any of you guys in here are going to be old enough to remember, are going to be around from before I was president. But way back when, we had an old club project called Get Ripped. And it's a game that we're making, or it's a game that I came up with and pitched to the club where it's like an action platformer but makes fun of fitness culture. Do like the Get Hydrated, that sort of thing. But actually up on the board right now, we've been laying out the levels and figuring out all the stuff for that. That's gonna be our first official release after this train wreck of a dating sim.
All right. So dating sim onto CrossFit platformer.
Yeah, Metroidvania basically.
That's pretty cool. Any other questions for our ex-president here?
It's kind of there. It's good.
It's good? It's good? We don't need him? All right, get out of here, Zach. We don't want you here.
Can't need you guys either. All right, see you guys. Have a great meeting, and thanks so much for sitting through my bullshit.
It's cold.
Hi. Oh gosh, let's stop that. So, I don't know if that's encouragement or discouragement to see what, the kind of people we make from this club, so.
If any of you have questions about the art, I made the art assets for it. Not the UI, because I don't know how to do that. But I made the pretty art assets for that. So if you have questions about that kind of thing, feel free to ask me.
All right. So the real part of this meeting, this weekend, going into announcements. I hope it's the first one up there. No, it's not.
It's not.
This week in Workspace, we usually have for you new members, we usually have a workshop every Saturday at 1 in Pearson Hall in the Game Development Lab. However, there is none this weekend because we have the Global Game Jam going on. Woo. And if any of you want to be like Zach was and show off the games you guys are making and either look for help or just to show off the progress you've made, feel free to come to either Jacob or myself or any of the exec members and give us some screenshots or give us what you would like to tell us, and we'll gladly give you the podium to plug your game.
And you don't need a game in progress to show. Feel free, if you have an idea that you'd like to get help on, to just jump up to the front and ask some people and see if people want to come around after the meeting and talk to you about something. We're trying to, we want people to be networking and working together as much as we can. So we've got a time at the beginning that you're free to just talk.
Gamers Anonymous, which is a podcast we've been struggling to get on its feet again for the past semester. It's coming, apparently, sometime in the future. I look forward to it. It will happen. I say not knowing if it actually will or not. If you're interested in joining our weekly stream, we're currently setting those up. I don't believe we're starting those until at least the week after Game Jam, just to let our poor streaming chair take a little break there. Sign up after meetings. We usually have a sign up sheet here but we aren't planning on having one this week. So feel free to bring your own games or make suggestions. And the Stream Lab is just to the left of the Game Development Lab. It's kind of hard to find. We're tucked in a corner, but feel free to stop by when we have our streams and keep looking out on announcements for that. The big one, the Game Jam itself. We have the Global Game Jam, which will be this Friday, starting at 5 p.m. and it's a 48-hour event. It'll go all the way till Sunday at 5 p.m. You won't be conscious during all that time, hopefully, but that's when the event will be going on. It'll be hosted in the basement of Ellings. I think it's 0358?
0308.
0308? I was close, wow. If you go inside of Ellings and down the stairs, it's right behind the stairs next to the bathrooms. It'll be where all the exhausted programmers are.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be a lot of fun. The Global Game Jam, for those of you who don't know or haven't been to a game jam before, it's a game jam hosted by, I think the company is just called Global Game Jam. It's a yearly event that they have. There's locations set up literally all around the world. It is global. They'll go around each time zone when we start, and will give us a theme, a prompt for an idea to make a game off of, and you go from there. You'll brainstorm. You'll find a team if you don't have one already, and over the course of the next 48 hours, you'll end up making a game, and hopefully everything works as intended. And the cool thing about the Global Game Jam is because it's not locally, hosted and created, because it's such a big platform, you can, when you're done, they have a site where you can go up and upload your games for others to play and see how they react to that. It's not really a competitive scene. They try to stay away from that. Really, just participating in that is what they want. They don't want to try to hand out like prizes or anything to make anyone feel like winners or losers when they're there. But it'll be a fun time regardless. I'll be talking about more of that later. That's what this whole meeting is about. Purpose of the Game Jam. First and foremost, it's to help especially new programmers and those who are just getting into the scene. It gives you a lot of experience. I know that being college students, it is really hard to find time to sit down and come up with ideas for games and have any long-term projects. I know I struggle with that a ton. The good thing about the Global Game Jams and game jams in general is that because it's such a short amount of time, it's just 48 hours. It's a nice time to just set everything aside for a weekend and sit down and know that by the end of it, you'll have at least attempted to make a game. And when I went to my first one, I thought that was amazing, just coming out of that knowing I had made my first game, and then going on to make my second one, which is better than the first, and so on and so forth. Networking is also a good thing. You'll meet a lot of other like-minded people, just like in this club. There'll hopefully be a lot of you guys there at the Game Jam. You'll meet other programmers and artists and level designers and musicians and anything you could put a title to for game development, you'll probably find there. It's a really nice opportunity to meet people to work with and also just to share the hobby with. Resume material, I mean, if you really need that, you can use it. I've put it in my resumes before. They don't always look at it, but it's nice to have it in there, which is, I put it in there because it's just nice to show off that I do have program experience, because making things that do useful things isn't that fun, so I'd rather just make games and show that off. This is Cole's Guide to Game Jam and Team Behavior. This is part 2. This is similar to what I did last year before our locally hosted Game Jam. I'll be going through some of the things I went through last time a bit quicker. I know a lot of you guys are new here, so that's why I'll try to be brief, but also try not to skip over anything that I have. There's really 6 steps to success here when you're going to the Game Jam. Not everyone will follow this process exactly. I assume very few of you will, but this is a nice guideline to keep in mind. Usually when you get there, they'll have a keynote speaker, at least for this one, and right off the bat when it starts, you'll want to assemble your team, get some people together, create your concept. This is the brainstorming period. It usually takes about the first day when you're there, from like the 5 p.m. to when everyone breaks out for the night. to come up with the concept and idea for your game. The second day is usually spent on generate working title version 0.1. This is just your prototyping and development phase, which continues for the majority of the game jam until probably about the last few hours, where you'll end up polishing and debugging as you go, and then finally compiling and shipping, which is probably the most important step, because if you don't do that, nobody gets your game.
You probably won't actually ship this, by the way. I don't think anyone will want to buy it. I'm not trying to be mean, but...
Oh, well, you'll put it on the Game Jam site.
On short notice.
Yeah. Let me make sure. So when you're assembling teams, some of you guys have friends in the club, some of you don't. Some of you guys know who you want to work with in there, and some of you will just go to the Game Jam and see who you can find there. Really, any approach is fine when you get to the Game Jam. And honestly, working with people is definitely recommended. You don't have to, but this is mostly a learning exercise, and the best way to learn is to have other people with there who can support and build off of each other. This is really the easiest step in the Game Jam, or it should, hopefully. Just talk to people. Go around. If they're not in your team, that's fine. When you want to start, this is really it's a social event. It's not a competition in these game jams. It might feel stressed at times, but really we're all here for the same purpose. We all want to sit down and try to have fun while we make games, and that's really what we're all here for. So don't feel afraid to socialize and talk to people. Even us exec members, when we're sitting there with our blank expressions for 40 hours. Don't be afraid to go up and talk to us if you have questions or just need to know where to start.
We are here to help. Like, our main objective during the Game Jam is not to make a game like everybody else. We're there as a resource. So if you have a question about how something works, we'll try our best to help you. We're not perfect, so we won't have the answer every time. But if you're looking for help, we are there. Can you actually go back 1 second?
Go ahead.
With the team comp, nice term for that, by the way. Regarding your team composition at a game jam, you really don't need the balance at all. You don't need like an artist, music creator, programmer, that kind of stuff. But you should tailor your game around that. So if you have 4 programmers and that's it, you probably shouldn't make a really artsy, pretty looking game, because it probably won't be. So in that situation, you'd make a very mechanically driven game, or something that all 4 people can stay busy and really work throughout the game jam. So just try to tailor that as best as you can.
Yeah.
The group that you make.
Yeah, really, experience isn't necessary to get started in these game jams. As long as you have a role that you think you can handle, or at least would like to try out, that's really good enough of a reason to go to these game jams. Typically, you should have someone that can program, or at least have the want to. For artists who just want to draw, will make a very pretty picture, but it won't really do anything. So try to have someone there who at least wants to be the programmer or has some know-how. And you don't have to have an artist. It is recommended. Program art will get you by in these game jams. Trust me, I think that's pretty much all the games I've developed have had programmer art. Coming up with your idea, this usually happens, at least by the schedule the Game Jam gave us. This usually happens about 2 hours after the Game Jam has started, once teams have been set and people have socialized and sat down. And it's really important during this step to keep a small scope and to know what you guys are going to do. And to help that, you should really plan around your team skills. Or lack thereof sometimes. Whether you guys have a bunch of technical programmers or a bunch of artists or just a mishmash of whatever, knowing in your group what people are capable of and what they want to do really helps in trying to figure out what kind of game you're going to make. Some people don't think through that step, and they'll just go straight into the idea, and then later on, like halfway through, they realize that their idea they had was more, technically I'm blanking on words. More technically difficult than they thought that it would be, or the look they wanted for the game just wasn't in the capabilities of what they had in their group. So it's really important to sit down before you guys start throwing out ideas to know what everyone is here to do, what they want to do in the group, and to plan around that first.
People work a lot harder when they have ownership.
Yeah.
Something, so let everybody get their ideas in. If you shut down one person the whole way, they're not going to be very invested in the game because they're not going to feel like it's theirs. So
Yeah.
give everybody an outlet.
Try to think of ideas that can be realized quickly. Generally, this is 48 hours. Story-driven games are usually kind of tossed out the window. Things with like a lot of depth can be done. I mean, if it's your first time, you should really just try to get something that works, and that should be your first and foremost goal. So when you're coming up with ideas, just think of something, the first thing that you can all agree on that you could want to work on, and just go with that. You shouldn't give it a ton of thought. You shouldn't be there for hours and hours and hours thinking about the concept of the game you want to make, instead of getting to the step of actually making it and then seeing how that feels. Consider every and all ideas that get thrown out. There's no such thing as a bad suggestion when brainstorming. At the very least, a bad idea is just something that you don't want to do in the game. Everyone in there wants to make a game. Everyone there wants to participate. So when they throw out ideas, no matter how ridiculous or obscene it is, give it thought. And at the very least, if the thought is, we don't want that in our game, then that's fine. As long as everyone knows that they're being heard in your group, and that everyone knows that, they are participating in the project you guys want to do. Prototyping. Prototyping is probably the single most important concept you can do in a game jam. Before you start with prototyping, hopefully before this point, you've sat down and discussed what everyone is capable of, what everyone wants to do, and you should assign roles to everyone. They don't have to be very concise. You might have something as specific as like you are the coder. Like, I know that's not very specific, but like, you are our programmer, you are our artist, you make the art assets, you'll do the programming. You do really anything else we can think of in time between that. As long as everyone has an idea of what they're supposed to be doing, that really helps with productivity. Not having a clear idea of what you're supposed to be doing at any given time can really lead to like groups splitting apart and ideas not coming together and people not communicating. When you start, you should really plan. You shouldn't be planning out until the end of the game jam. You should really be planning out into the next 2 to 3 hours into the game jam of what you guys want to accomplish in the near future, and then work towards that. Communication is really key during these game jams if you're working in a group. And when everyone's tired and worn down, sometimes you'll get really silent rooms of people sitting there on the computers making the art, doing the programming, and just trying to get this game done. But talking is imperative for these game jams. Everyone should be knowing what everyone should be knowing what everyone else is doing, and knowing what they should be doing, and asking questions, and just anything. Talking is good. Prototyping, you should try to work towards making something that compiles and runs as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be super detailed. This phase of the game jam is really just making like the framework of what you guys want to do, whether that's literally a gray rectangle moving back and forth. As long as it's something that you have put down and it compiles and works, that's something you can build off of. And that's something you'll be doing over and over and over during the course of the game jam.
Yeah, just talking about prototyping for one more second. Prototyping should really just focus on what you're trying, what your main focus of the game is. So if you're making a racing game, you would prototype like a really simple racetrack and just the controls, and you'd just be messing with, okay, do the controls feel good? Because if you come up with a game idea that you realize is just not fun, you still have time to change it. If you wait to compile and you wait to have a working version until 24 hours in, you don't really have time to switch to something new. So it's just your chance to sort of test early and figure out what works, what doesn't, what do we like, what don't we like, how do we build off of it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This step is really the bulk of the game jam. This is after you guys have made a bare bones skeleton working prototype of your game. The next is just iterating that over and over and over and over and over again for the next 20 to 30 hours. Once you've got a game that compiles and does things, you've got the largest bulk of the game making process to do, and that's making everything else. As I said before, team communication is key. Give regular status reports on your progress. Assist in other parts if someone's struggling. You guys, especially some of the new people, will be really new to this scene and sometimes might be confused or lost on where to go. And some of the older, more experienced members should be aware of that and be communicating with their group and seeing if there's some place they can help out with. Always be engaged with the people around you. Just, having a sense of community in your group really helps both keep the stress level down and keeping your energy levels up. Because, we're all here to have fun, but, after 30, 40 hours of fun and working, people get worn down and frustrated and stressed, and it does happen. Again, don't be afraid to ask us exec members or even another team for help if there's something no one on the team knows how to do. If there is something that you guys have tried to look up and you just don't know, you have an idea of what you want to do, but you just don't know how to approach it, you can ask us, you can ask online, you can ask another team if they seem like they know how they might help. Again, this isn't a competitive space. We're all here to help each other out, even between other teams. You should make your game in small bits and be building and testing it constantly. A big pitfall for a lot of new developers is sitting down and keep trying to put more and more and more things in without testing. It's really, I find it best to put one part of the game you want to put it in, test it, make sure it works, and then add something else. This really helps limit your scope creep, which is the concept of, you have the scope of your game, everything you want to put in it, and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you quickly find that the time crunch is getting onto you and you guys cannot accomplish everything you wanted to, and you're frantically deciding what you need to cut and what you guys can actually put in there. It's best to just start it small and just keep building off of that. That way, no matter where you are in the process, you have something working, some part of the game that is functioning, instead of just putting everything in there and then seeing if it works then and not having an idea of what went wrong, what asset you put in there, what snippet of code you had put in there in the block that you uploaded all at once. It's best to do this in chunks.
Yeah, don't work on level 5 until you've at least finished level 1.
Yeah.
No reason to jump ahead and expand so much that suddenly you can't finish anything. You have a bunch of unfinished stuff.
Yeah, if you do find that the goal you've set is too large, absolutely don't be afraid to cut, and just keep cutting. A finished game with 2 features is a lot better than an unfinished one with 5, and it's also a lot more impressive to show off to people. Concepts are nice, but a working product is usually even better.
Don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass one.
Yeah.
Anybody know what that's from?
Recreation.
Yeah, there you go.
This step, polishing and debugging, it's technically optional. Hopefully, if you've been doing the prototyping thing, you've been doing that constantly, but sometimes things fall under the hood. Usually after you've gotten to the tail end of things, you've gotten the bulk of your assets and code put into there, it's time to just sit down and start polishing and debugging and making sure the game is as pretty and working as you can get it in these last few hours. Jake's notes, polishing is optional. You just need to make sure that your game works. It might not have everything you want in there, and it might not be what you originally entailed, but if it works, that's huge in a game jam. You made something in 2 days and it works. Finally, in the project, don't forget to actually export your game, whether you're using Unity or anything else. We just mostly work in Unity. Don't forget to export. You might see a little fancy window there that runs the game inside of that. but you need to actually export that so it's a playable like exe file for people to, execute and run and play on their own without having the Unity engine on their computer. Some people forget this. Some people put it off in the last minute. It takes a lot longer than you'd think. So, doing this at least an hour before the game jam is a good idea, especially during the global game jam, because again, like I said, there's a site for you to upload it with where everyone else is uploading their games, and you want to make sure it's up there. That's huge exposure to let people see and play and see how they like the game you guys have made.
And it's not just the actual time of building the game, because I'm pretty sure almost every single game I've gotten to the point of, okay, I'm gonna build this. I build it like 4 times, because I build it, realize there's a mistake with the resolution, rebuild it, realize there's a mistake in one of the corners of one of the rooms that I didn't notice when I was testing it, rebuild it. So don't wait until 5 minutes before the timer's done to build, because you're not gonna build it in time.
Yeah.
So build it. I think usually the time people suggest is like at least 30 minutes before. I personally say at least an hour.
Yeah.
Just to give plenty of ample time, and so you're not working in the last 5 minutes stressing out trying to finish. So you can sit back and watch everybody else stress out and figure it out in the last 5 minutes.
Miscellaneous stuff, this isn't really part of the steps. This is just things to keep in mind as you're going through. Relax, like I've said time and time again, repeating myself, this isn't a competition. This isn't something to, stress and fret over for these 48 hours. You're here to enjoy yourself and enjoy the process of building probably your first game during this. So just try to enjoy yourself. Also, take care of yourself. If you look at the Global Game Jam, they put in time slots for people to hey, you should probably use this time to go eat and sleep and, shower and anything else. You don't have to stay at the event the entire time. Don't be afraid to go home.
Just not doing that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 days, or basically 3 days in one place without bathing is not enjoyable for probably yourself and others, especially others. So
yeah, just take care of yourself. You'll be much more productive getting 4 hours of sleep than you would have just working those 4 hours. So take care of your body like you would during anything else. I mean, you can cut some corners here and there, but really, the better you feel, the better you'll work. Have fun. As I said, this isn't a competition, so enjoy what you're doing here. And, the most important part is be proud of whatever you make, whatever comes out the end of this 48-hour period. Be proud of what you made. It might not be what you wanted. It might not be, everything you had originally planned to put in it, but it's there and it's yours, and you should take ownership and pride of that, because you're probably in the same boat as literally everyone else in the game jam, unless they've been here for like 10 times already. So just be proud of what you did. You should leave the game jam, with a sense of accomplishment that, it wasn't amazing, but next time you can do even better than that, at least. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to some? This was mostly recap from the one I did for the other game jam. I do have some stuff for the global game jam, but first, if anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Yeah.
What sort of theme would they be putting forward? Like a genre?
usually it's like a concept. So for instance, last year's was Waves.
Yeah.
Which was pretty interesting because people took it a lot of different ways. Somebody made a surfing game in here. Somebody made a game where you shoot light waves out of a gun. Somebody made a game where you use sound waves in like a puzzle game.
One where you're on a beach is just, yeah.
There were a lot of different ways that people took it. For our personal game jams, we've done, like the October one, we did Wicked as our topic. So a lot of people came up with like Halloween themed or scary themed games.
Candles.
Not necessarily horror games, because it's hard to make something scary in 48 hours. The one group did it like last year. They made like a Psy, the mascot. They took the model of him and then they like fucked it up and made it look really creepy. And every time it got close to you in the dark, so it was already scary, it whispered the Choose Your Adventure at Iowa State.
Oh,
It was genuinely scary.
No, yeah, it They rigged the model backwards.
Yeah, they rigged like the head back. Oh,
It was awful.
you can do it.
I guess the Global Game Jam does have a site. This is more like bookkeeping stuff. You do kind of need to sign up. We do have, if you go to the Global Game Jam site, which you can see right there, globalgamejam.org, you can make your account there and sign up. That way you can get, recognized for your participation there, and that lets you upload your games and to say what team you're with. I think the deadline is on day 2, sometime in early afternoon. So either before the game jam if you're planning to attend, or at least before the second day to get on here and sign up and join our hosting site, so they know that you're participating here.
That'll be one of the first things we'll go over is when the game jam starts. We'll say, okay, make sure to sign up, make sure to get in so you can get recognized and you can upload your project.
This is the schedule they put out, and I thought it was interesting to look at just because during the last game jam when I gave the speech, I had timestamps by each of my steps on when I expected people to complete them, and then I looked at this and I had a really different idea than what I had. Because usually I push for prototyping the game as soon as possible. Like the time you take creating your idea should really be like 1 or 2 hours, and then you should go like right into making your game. But they put out there that really the first day you're there, that Friday, should be spent on getting to know your team and coming up with that idea to implement the next day. I thought that was pretty interesting. Again, everyone has their own method of going about things. This is the way they did it, and they know way more than me, so they might be right.
It all comes from personal experience.
Yeah. I just kind of put this up here to, again, just to kind of see how things plan out. Obviously, we don't expect you to be here the entire 48 hours. During the night, you're free to go home. Usually people come back, they leave around like 10, 11, sometimes later. And we start at like 9 a.m. Like, it's really like, it's not as stressful as we like to make it seem. Like, it's fun, like telling people like how intense this 48-hour game jam is. It's really not. It's really more of a laid-back thing.
Oh yeah, by the way, you should stay until midnight on Friday night.
Oh yeah.
This is the church across from like Friley or whatever, like over there, is doing the midnight waffle and pancake free thing.
It's great.
Which is fucking cool. We'll probably
Free pancakes.
do a little parade over there with a bunch of the members to go get pancakes and waffles, and that's fun. So you should stay for that at least.
Yeah.
Then you can go home and sleep. That's fine.
If you guys need resources, either for this game jam or literally anything else, this little tab here is amazing. This here gives you every resource under the sun that you could possibly want. If I can click on it. Stuff you'll find here is stuff that we've mentioned in passing over the last semester of different tools you guys can use. I definitely recommend using this to look at, to see everything. Oh gosh, there's so many people on this. This is just like this number is just the number of free engines you guys could use, or at least cheap engines. Unity, Unreal, Cry, Scratch. You could make your game in Scratch. That's a possibility. Game Maker, Ren'Py, Twine, a ton of stuff. RPG Maker, if you bought that for some reason. I don't know who do that. They'd be really dumb if they had done that. I didn't buy it.
I think I bought it.
I thought I had more to talk about on this part, but really, there's just like a huge list of every free or really cheap thing you could ever want to put into a game. Your first game, your 10th game, whatever. Look at this page. It is amazing. So I can get this back to questions. I hate navigating this. Does anyone have any questions about the game jam in general, or game development, or anything? I'll open up the floor to you guys.
Will food be served there, or are we expected to get food on our
You are expected to get food on your own. We might have snacks and stuff there. I think we have Insomnia cookies coming. So expect that, but like nothing sustaining. You guys should go out and like eat real food too.
Take a break.
Yeah, like,
Last game jam, you had that little game contest with Mario Kart. Are you gonna try another game?
We've been toying with that idea. We don't want something that's going to be distracting for everybody. Because, when you get loud playing like a tournament, the people that are trying to work can't really do it. But we might do like a Smash Bros thing anyways, like the loudest game.
You can try Street Fighter on your SNES Classic.
I'll let Zach, so he's not going to be there, but Zach.
You gotta go to Minnesota for that.
I know.
Yeah.
Go to Minnesota.
I'll kidnap it and bring it back with me.
Perfect. You're going up there.
But yeah, we might try and do like a tournament like halfway through day 2 to relieve some stress, just have some fun, something like that.
Yeah. Just to get a polling here. How many of you, if you're planning on going or not, this would be your first game jam? Nice.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
First game jam is the best game
Yeah.
because it's a lot of fun.
You go like my first game jam. I went in there. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any. I knew programming. I knew nothing about game programming. I made a really shitty flower pot. It was a great time.
That was a shitty flower.
I have a quick thing I want to say.
Yeah.
Since you're going to be generally in one room for a period of 48 hours and not the full time, I would hope, please try to get some sleep, go home for a little bit. Feel free to like bring a blanket or some comfy clothes or anything. Just, you're going to be hunched over a desk for a while. So feel free to bring whatever will keep you comfy, food, water, whatever you like.
If anybody was wondering about machines there are no computers or laptops there, so this is a bring your own setup. We've had people bring desktops before, so if you want to lug a desktop to Ellings and
You can do that.
hire somebody to keep watch of it while you're eating or whatever, absolutely go ahead. I say that as a joke. You can ask one of the exec members who's staying there to watch it.
I'll be there.
But feel free to bring your desktop if you want to. Most people just bring laptops. You don't have to make a video game. If you want to make a board game on some paper, that's fine. Go ahead. That's totally an option. Less people do that because you can't really share it, on the site. But absolutely go ham on that if you want to. So yeah, bring whatever you want for that kind of stuff. Bring snacks. Don't spill, don't make messes, because we'd like to keep doing these. They're fun, and we don't want to get in trouble because of something as silly as somebody spilled coffee all over the floor or something. So.
Yeah. I hope this has been a good first meeting for you guys. I know we have a lot of new people here from the Club Fest, and I'm not too well versed in giving presentations. Even though I've given the only one that you new people have seen. If you guys have any questions about the game jam between then and now, we have a Discord for you guys to check out. We have exec members there, we have veterans there, we have pretty much anything you could want there. If you think of stuff after the meeting. And what do we got there? Networking. I think this is. Did you put this up here?
No.
No? This has been me. I forgot that. Well then, any final questions or? We good on time?
Yes.
Cool. Well
Be
then.
a good opportunity for people to talk with each other.
Yeah.
Building.
Yeah. Why don't you guys take a little bit of time to mingle with yourselves? I know.
Yeah, for
Are-
those who are attending this weekend, if you want to just chat with each other and see what your skills are, if you want to form a team early, might be a good opportunity.
And you do not need to make teams. That is not a requirement. I'm not sure if that was clear.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of solo game jammers in the past. Totally fine. The reason we suggest making a team is because when you're working by yourself, you get all the game mechanics done, and then you realize you have 30 minutes left, and you're still using gray boxes. So usually nice to avoid that situation by getting more people in your group and working together. Also, don't use Google Drive. Or do if you have to, if you have no experience in anything else. But we just did a workshop on Git, and you should use probably Git. Does anybody know what Git is? GitHub, that thing, yeah. It's nice. It's much nicer for group work, so don't, just don't.
That was a layer actually.
Oh, that was totally lit. Yeah, sorry.
You're not sorry.
I'm not. But yeah, try to use something a little bit more suited for that. But yeah, we're gonna give you guys a bit of time now. You guys can leave or whatever if you want to. You know, if you hate us, it's fair.
Yeah.
To look for groups, if you're, what's up?
Yeah, just on the game jam, is it illegal to build a few assets beforehand?
You can build stuff before him. It's generally frowned upon to use material from previous works because of the purpose that this game jam is for. It's meant to be you get your prompt and then you start working from there. Usually that kind of prep work is frowned upon. No one will stop you from doing it, of course, but generally it's everyone starts from scratch.